First of all, what's most important in trying to contain their three guards that had that type of performance in game one?
It's very important. It's a job that you got to do collectively. It's not going to be on one person. It's going to be on the whole team that's being on the string and having each other's backs.
Tyler mentioned that there were a couple mid ranges that maybe you guys either need to make a decision to go back to three, but also having more attempts in the paint and at the rim. How is that top of mind?
I mean, for sure. You always want to try to be the aggressors, and part of that is getting to the rim, and trying to dictate the flow of the game.
Yeah, what has to change rebounding wise? They kind of set the tone early, particularly on their offensive glass.
Physicality, that's it. Hit somebody, going to the rim, boxing out. There's physicality to get that rebound. Secure the possession.
Cleveland defense clearly was perfectly fine making it rough on Tyler. They're super physical with him on top of sending multiple guys. What's the key, particularly on the offensive end, and freeing Tyler up a little bit to be more helpful for you?
Just trying to find certain things. Help free him up. That's credit to everything he's done this year and how well he's been playing. But I feel like he's gonna have I feel he had a good game one. He's gonna have a great game two. And we're gonna keep going and going.
What's been the thing that you've had to monitor the most in how you feel with the hand to know that you can go out here full tilt?
Yeah, I mean, it was all. The most important part was if I can go live. Just the contact and everything. Shooting, I could have shot. As soon as I took the cast off, but contact and like falling and all those stuff, you gotta get used to that. And I think at this point, I feel really comfortable in that, and yeah, I'm ready to go.
Bam, what's the most important thing that has to happen from an upgrade of defense on the perimeter so that those three guys don't have the same type of performance?
Just force them into difficult shots, make them see bodies, and then we live with that result.
On the other end of the floor, what are the things you all want to do to have a little more attack at the rim, a little more action in the paint offensively?
Just understanding, you see what it is, game one. So being out there, understanding they're gonna always try to center it to their two bigs, and we make plays after that.
You look back at game one and you see the physicality they had, maybe more so than you guys. How do you change that in game two? Is it more mindset? Is it as far as basketball goes? Like how do you be the more physical team?
Go out there and make plays. I feel like the only reason it looked so physical is because they got more offensive rebounds than we did. Second, the 50-50 balls. But we go out there and make plays. It's a different ballgame.
The way they're playing Tyler defensively, what's the challenge in getting him cleaner touches and kind of more airspace to operate?
Transition. Getting him in open space, getting him to where he can be himself without a whole bunch of bodies in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, we just got to be more physical, a better presence on the ball. I think our guards, obviously including myself, can be a lot better. Just being better on the ball, disruptive, trying to force turnovers, get steals, deflections. We know what it takes. We know what we have to take away from game one, and what we have to bring tomorrow into game two.
Is there more that has to be done to kind of free you up a little bit more?
I mean, we've been getting guarded like this all season. We figured it out already. Shit, we'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Gotcha. Early in the game, you guys had to settle into your rebounding. Yeah. When you get into game two, how important? What do you need to do in trying to get a little more dominance on the boards on both ends?
Yeah, obviously coming in with a better physicality, better presence. The first possession last game, they got an offensive rebound, and I feel like that kind of set the tone. So coming out tomorrow, we have to set the tone, being more physical, and we are the more physical team.
To look back, as you watch the film, kind of break things down, the 50-50 plays, the hustle plays, what was the noticeable thing that gave them that advantage as you look back on it?
Yeah, a lot of reaching for the ball instead of just putting our nose on it and going to get it. Honestly, it's 50-50. It's who wants the ball more, and we have to be the more desperate team.
They were calling you up several times defensively. We've seen it before. It happens. What can you do to adjust if they insist on calling you up again, trying to get the switches, on the screens? What can you do to maybe change the defensive outcome?
Yeah, I think they're calling me up. It's obviously like you said, something we've seen before. I think what's different is they're not really. They call me up, and then it's not a one-on-one attack. It's get the switch and then call up a pick and roll with the 5, and then I had to fight over screens. So that's trying to wear me down, expanding energy on defense and trying to break open on offense. So just finding different ways to be more efficient, so I'm not expending so much energy on both ends, and then I can obviously be better on the ball, which I will be tomorrow.
Without specifics, I wouldn't expect that. Knowing Spo when he has 2 days off is pretty good at going to the laboratory. Might we see a different defensive approach, perhaps, without getting into specifics, of course?
No, I think obviously Spo's, adjustments are always, since I've been playing for him, are amazing after game 1. But I think mostly it's on us players to bring a more physical approach, a better approach to the game. We got punked in the first game, and we can't do that tomorrow.
What's the more you want to see, particularly on the offensive end in the painted area, and even more specific at the rim?
Just making the right decisions once we get into the paint. Obviously, our spacing can be better. I think that will create easier opportunities for us to make plays for me, Bam, and Wiggs. We can get into the paint. It's just about making the right decisions once we get in the paint.
How much emphasis is there on taking more threes? Obviously, they take a lot of threes. Could be a math problem if you're not getting enough up. How much of an emphasis is there going to be?
No, definitely. We've settled for a couple mid-range shots in game 1. Just being more patient and working our offense, knowing that we can get the shots we want if we can just work our offense a little bit more.
Spo, what's the most important upgrade in defense that has to happen against the Cleveland Guards?
Well, we understand that overall has to be a much more consistent, tougher defensive disposition all across the board. And they present some unique challenges, and that's the task. We have to figure out, how to continue to find a way to get disruptive, get them out of what they normally like to do. We have a lot of those kind of habits.
Is there more that has to be done to get Tyler a little more open? He even mentioned even his own decision making.
Yeah, offensively, we need to be more efficient. Our spacing, some of our actions, doing it with more purpose, intent. Getting the ball to, Tyler, Wiggs, Bam, on their strength zones is always a priority. They were doing things to try to stop us from doing that. That's the playoffs. So we have to do a better job. I'm sure they're going to try to make some adjustments to continue, to keep them out of their strength zones. And looking forward to tomorrow night and seeing what happens.
From a physical standpoint, as you look back on it, how much more physical were the offensive and defense, and how much does that have to change in game 2 from your end?
It's always a big part in the playoffs. Who can set the tone, and impose your will on the game. There were times that we were, but I think it's a fair statement to say that more consistently, the Cavs did. And they got to their game. They were able to disrupt us and get us out of their game. The 50-50 rebounding, ball in the air, ball on the floor type battles, they also won those. It's tough to win a game. Even though we got it to 6 and 5 a handful of times, really they were more worthy to win, that game. So we have to improve.
Teams have hunted Tyler in the defensive end before, but what can be better around him to negate
overall activity, overall purpose, intent, what we're doing defensively. It's not the first time, we've had to deal with that. When we're disruptive, we can handle that better, knowing that, their guards are very good.
Oftentimes you're talking about an adjustment. How do you avoid too much of adjustment or the adjustment needed? I mean, you've been through this so many times before, but trying to keep your game, but at the same time recognizing there are other things that need to be done as far as adjustments.
It's a little bit of everything. Look, we're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Right now, we are who we are. They are who they are. They got to their game more consistently. I would say that's probably the biggest factor. Doing what we can do that better, do it harder, and then see in the margins where we need to make adjustments.
They really set the tone, particularly on that first play when they got that offensive rebound on the boards, and then were able to stay there. What's the key to getting them a little less uncomfortable in that space?
Yeah, all year long, we've been at our best defensively when we finish possessions. To a rebound, to tough plays, inspiring plays. We knew, and know that they'll continue to try to be aggressive in the paint, on the glass, just like we will try to do it on the other end of the court. But Allen definitely had intent, and he had a massive impact with his presence in the paint, on the glass.
I suppose you see Nico. How much more do you want to incorporate Nico potentially as the series goes on?
Yeah, we'll see. I like his progress that he's been making, and the fact that he's available, is a good step. He had a really good day yesterday. Had another good day today. He'll be available again.
Similarly, Pella, with what he can do, including defensively and on both ends and energy-wise, might be he someone you can inject in there just to maybe get a little more of what you're talking about?
Yeah, potentially. And he looks good. He had a really good day yesterday. He hasn't been out as long, as Nico. So I think his rhythm is there, and he's been able to prep, do everything that he needs to do. All guys are. It's all hands on deck. Whatever we need to get done.
They're a highly random and improvisational offense. It's become more common in the last couple of years. But what is it like game planning and adjusting over the course of a series against offenses that operate that way compared to a little bit more static and traditional?
They present different challenges than other teams, and that's the task. We have to figure it out. We've faced teams that play with similar type of dynamic, and when our defense is at its best, connected, communicating, doing things with great intensity and communication, we can make an impact on that side of the floor. Not expecting it to be easy. Like, that's the playoffs, playing against a good team. That's the task, and that's what we have to figure out.